Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Tonight we're going to be exploring the third in the mainline series of Johnnie Walker blends called Double Black, so let's get into it. If this is your first time with the channel and you enjoy whiskey reviews, information, or just general whiskey knowledge, then click on subscribe so you don't miss anything. So I've already talked about Johnnie Walker as a company in a previous video, so I won't really go too much into that. But what I do want to talk about is this particular whiskey. So it's called Johnnie Walker Double Black, and so you got to think that it has something to do with Johnnie Walker Black, right? Well, this bottle is the newest in the mainline expression, actually, if you don't count kind of the discontinuation and bringing back of Johnnie Walker Green back in 2016. So in 2011, they introduced this to the mainline expression, and it was designed to be an accentuation of everything that made Johnnie Walker Black good. And they actually kind of even went a little bit further. So although they took the parts of it that tasted good and they just kind of like enhanced them, they also sourced from Talisker 10 mostly, and really tried to introduce some peat to it as well. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a peaty whiskey, but I will say that the amount of smoke and just general peatiness that you get in it was a bit surprising. And I will also say that the very first time I actually had this, I had been putting off having this for quite a while and just never really, moved up on the priority list of mine to buy it while I was out until a couple of weekends ago, actually. I went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire with my wife, and we decided to stop at the New Hampshire State Liquor Store on the way up and buy ourselves a bottle of something. So she got wine, I got this, and I actually picked up an Ardbeg as well. But I picked up this because it was something in my mind that I wanted to try and just never really had a good reason to buy. So we kind of went and did our whole thing in Portsmouth. We went to a bunch of bars, we kind of had some dinner and stuff, and then we went back to the hotel and we decided to go to the jacuzzi. Now we were like, all right, let's dip into the stuff that we brought. So I poured myself some of this. They didn't really have any good glasses in the hotel room. I was actually a little surprised. Normally they have that like glass that you can have, in the bathroom, whatever, to rinse your mouth, whatever. All they had were those paper cups that you get when you make coffee in your room in the morning. So I got to pour this into a paper cup. Now I did pour quite heavy because, as I said, we were going down to the jacuzzi. So it was about maybe that much of it. It was pretty big. And my wife had, a full cup of wine. So we bring it down to the jacuzzi and we're just kind of hanging out in there, sipping on it. It was awesome. But I have to say, just being in that particular situation after a day of drinking and eating, my tasting and nosing notes were not exactly keen. So I'm interested to see what this actually kind of gives me tonight. So let's get into that. All right, so moving into the nosing and tasting, I'm going to pour myself some of this guy, and it's a pretty cool looking bottle, I will say that. I think that they really nailed the concept of double black. All right, so let's pour ourselves a dram. All right, so let's go ahead and nose this. All right, so as I mentioned, you are going to pick up some of the smoke. You're going to get a little bit of the peat and actually a little bit of kind of seawater in there too. The Talisker really comes out pretty strong in this. Now, it's not the only thing it's made of, and I did do some research to try to find everything. Maybe it's available online somewhere. I couldn't find it, but I did find that Talisker 10 is a big component of this. So, all right, let's see what else is in the nose. All right, so for me, other than the smoke and the kind of salt water, you get some kind of like a dark fruit, less so cherry and more like plum. And the oak isn't super prominent to me, but you do get some vanilla in there as well. All right, let's go ahead and have a taste. Cheers. All right, so the smoke is much more prominent on the palate there. So my little paper cup was not wrong, even though maybe a little bit more subtle there. The peat is actually pretty tasty in this. It's most of what you're going to taste. Oddly enough, I get a little backing of honey on this. You get some more wood than you got in the nose, which is kind of nice, but mostly it's just forefront of peat. But subtle, if peat can be subtle. Either way, Let me try one more sip just to make sure I'm not getting anything missed. Well, there is one more thing that I thought might have been a little too subtle in that first one, but it comes out in my second sip. So if you're a wine drinker at all and you drink Shiraz at all, you'll note that in Shiraz you get kind of like a black pepper. I get that in here as well. It's dry, but very distinctly black pepper to me. All right, so what is my rating of this whiskey? Well, as I mentioned, I put off having this one for probably too long. If you are in the situation where you're currently buying Johnnie Walker Black and that is something that you're enjoying and you feel like that's kind of the level that you're at, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that Johnnie Walker Black isn't kind of a beginner intro to blended Scotch, because it is. But if that's where you are, this is probably a good thing to go to. Other than that, honestly, I would suggest just ignore this. It's $35, and at that price, you can get other Scotches or bourbons that are better. So my suggestion would be to ignore this one. I don't think you're missing out on anything if you've had the black. If you haven't, then maybe give this one a shot. But as I said, just ignore this. All right, so I will see you next week on the Whiskey Dictionary. I hope that you have an awesome rest of your night, and thank you.